Daniel, Brad Lidge, and Phil Martelli? I would. That sounds like a fun day, and you get to watch some horse racing. Today's the 2024 Bet Parks, Pennsylvania Derby and Cotillion. Cotillion. TC went to a cotillion once. She had long white gloves. This is a different type of cotillion. The 2024 Bet Parks, Pennsylvania Derby and Cotillion is here. 2 incredible races, each with a $1 million purse to the winner. Wow, that's awesome, right? A full day of live racing with the first post time at 11:35 a.m. this morning, Bensalem, Bucks County. If you're in the Northeast, you can get there, meaning the Northeastern United States. Make it a day with free family fun in the Parks Racing Picnic Grove, pony rides, live music, food and drink specials, and the 3 gentlemen that I mentioned, which sounds like a good time. The Pennsylvania Derby and Cotillion today at Bet Parks. Parks Racing and Casino located at the Street Road exit off I-95, very accessible, and the Pennsylvania Turnpike or exit 6 from the New Jersey Turnpike. You got to be 18 to wager at Parks Racing and 21 to gamble at Parks Casino. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. So the front page of the New York Times print edition makes my point today, where I'm asking as the poll question whether the United States is at greater risk from those within or outside the United States. Within or outside? Why do I ask? Well, look at a headline like this. All the notes obviously are my own. Israel says Beirut strike kills Hezbollah leader who is wanted by the U.S. This guy, Ibrahim Akil, apparently one of the planners of that horrific 1983. It's one of these, do you remember where you were moment? I was an undergrad at Lehigh at the time. 241 U.S. military personnel died on that day. First reaction that I had is, if this guy, and I'm not doubting it, I'm just making a statement, but if this guy played a significant role in that bombing, how come we haven't killed him in the meantime? But my broader point for today's purposes, because to read the coverage of this story and to put it on top of what just happened with the pagers as well as the walkie-talkies, is of course to invite response and retaliation. I'm not saying that's not a reason to go after Hezbollah. It's just be careful what you wish for. Yeah. Another headline. At funerals and in hospitals, Lebanon talks of revenge for the pager attacks. Of course, it never ends. It never ends. And their kids grow up hating Israeli kids and by extension, American kids. And the commentary that I'm going to deliver at the outset of the CNN program today is one that asks whether we're caught up in, well, some important matters and some not important matters in this election. It's just sort of the nature of the 24/7 news beast. And I think we've taken our eye off some real peril. Peril from the Middle East at the top of the list, because if Israel is now moving into Lebanon, and if there's going to be war between Israel and Lebanon, and if Hezbollah responds with the support of Iran, what will we do? Will we be defensive only? Will be involved in an offensive capacity? And what then becomes of that? What happens with China? What happens with Russia? What happens with North Korea? Are you aware of the Commission on National Defense Strategy? Because this is a group appointed by Republican and Democratic leaders of the House and Senate Armed Services Committees who issued a report last week. And the conclusion is we are ill-equipped for what might come our way. And I think, and by the way, guilty as charged, because although I talk about foreign policy matters on radio on a day-to-day basis, I'm far more consumed with the minutia of the domestic political environment. But I'm delivering a commentary today that says maybe our attention needs to be refocused. And maybe we need to refocus some of the issues of the campaign to try and determine which of the two of these individuals is better suited to be a commander-in-chief. So here's the way I'm going to get into. Allow me a quick rehearsal of just the first minute or two of the commentary that I'm going to deliver on CNN soon. The U.S. shrugs as World War III approaches. I'm Michael Smerconish in Philadelphia. I'd like to start with a provocative statement, identify myself. But why am I saying the U.S. shrugs as World War III approaches. It's because that was a provocative headline in the Wall Street Journal this week, accompanying an essay written by Walter Russell Mead. He's a professor of strategy and statecraft at the University of Florida, formerly at Bard. He was shining a light on the aforementioned commission report. I say you can be excused for being unaware of it because, after all, we've been busy. We've been talking about Trump and J.D. Vance and the ridiculous statements about eating pets in Springfield, Ohio. We've been counting the number of times that Kamala Harris sits for media availabilities, as well as tabulating how many times she repeats almost verbatim the same answer. And those are legitimate. They're both legitimate to pursue each of them. But then I'll say each of us has only so much bandwidth. And while we in the campaigns are consumed with such inquiry, there are more important issues that should shape who will be our next commander-in-chief. Here's what Professor Mead wrote about this commission report. The bipartisan report details a devastating picture of political failure, strategic inadequacy, and growing American weakness in a time of rapidly increasing danger. The U.S. faces the most serious and most challenging threats since 1945, including the real risk of a near-term major war. This is what this commission has opined after their review. The nation was last prepared for such a fight during the Cold War, which ended 35 years ago. It is not prepared today. Worse, China and Russia's No Limits partnership, formed in February of 2022, just days before Russia's invasion of Ukraine, has only deepened and broadened to include a military and economic partnership with Iran and North Korea. This new alignment of nations opposed to U.S. interests creates a real risk, if not likelihood, that conflict anywhere could become a multi-theater or global war. So that's why I'm kind of sounding the alarm today relative to the campaign and saying we need to reorient our focus. You know, what have we spoken of recently? Again, guilty as charged. I talk about all of these things. I'm a black Nazi, says the lieutenant governor of North Carolina, who now is all jammed up over his apparent participation in chat organizations and worse. Nude Africa, the website. And by the way, Donald Trump is headed to North Carolina today, and of course referred to this guy as MLK on steroids. That'll be something interesting to watch. Oh, but there I go, right? Caught up in that domestic. It's important. It's important, especially if you're in North Carolina, but so too is where this might go. What else? What else are we talking about? Childless cat ladies. Whether the first gentleman had an extramarital affair before he met the vice president. Crowd sizes. The Arlington Cemetery video. RFK cutting off the head of a whale and, wanting to skin the bear. And whether Beyonce would show up at the DNC. And whether when Caitlin Clark liked the endorsement by Taylor Swift, whether she liked that meant it was an endorsement, that was a big deal as well. You get the whole point. In the only debate that there's been between Harris and Trump, which may be the only debate there will ever be between the two, there was just one question on the Israel-Hamas war and one on the war in Ukraine. And everything else was consumed with domestic politics. Nothing about China's industrial espionage, nothing about China's expansion in sea and space, nothing about their, what is it called? The Belt and Road Initiative. The Russian invasion of Ukraine seems at a standstill. The United States seems to dole out our aid incrementally and almost like it's an allowance that you're giving to a kid, and always tempered. This is interesting because this makes my point that I've been saying about Ukraine recently. The Biden administration is now saying you can use long-range missiles going deep into Russia. We're saying that to Ukraine, but not our missiles. Like if you want to use somebody else's missile, as if that's going to give us an arm's length away from it. Just an example of how we seem calibrated in our response to that war to give them enough for defense, but not enough to actually turn the tide. My point is, these are all very important matters. They deserve more conversation, and I'm going to do my part on television today to try and reorient our focus in that regard. What else am I going to do? I'm going to talk to, this will make people's heads explode, but we asked both, this is important actually for me to tell you how this works. So given that the conclusion of the campaign, voting is now underway, but given that the conclusion of the campaign is 6+ weeks away, we have asked each of the campaigns for a representative. And we were offered representatives by both, and then the Harris campaign pulled back. I have no idea why, and they supplied no one. So Corey Lewandowski will be on my program today, representative of the Trump campaign, and people's heads will explode and say, how could you have him and where's the response? Well, you know first. We offered, they didn't oblige. So what am I to do? I'm going to talk to Lewandowski about what Trump's going to say in North Carolina today about the politically wounded lieutenant governor who he's embraced in the past. That will be very interesting. I'm also going to speak with a professor, Kaylin Jackson Schiff, who has done research and conducted a survey about the liar's dividend. You heard me discuss that perhaps on radio. What's the premise? The idea is that in a world of misinformation, disinformation, artificial intelligence, it provides an opportunity for someone who really is caught up in something illicit. It offers them deniability, which is exactly what the lieutenant governor is doing, Richardson, in North Carolina. He's saying, that's AI, that's not me. So AI can put you in places you never were, but it also provides the liar's dividend, an opportunity for somebody who really was responsible for some misconduct to say, it wasn't me, and then the public is left wondering, well, wherein lies the truth? Bradley Tusk is going to be my guest as well. He was a great guest on radio, and we'll revisit his book, Vote with Your Phone, which was a good conversation. Poll question of the day today at Smerconish.com: is the United States at greater risk from those within or without our nation? Within or outside our nation? Within or outside our nation? So go vote on the poll question today, please. Order a copy of Smercomics 2024 if you've not already done so. You know by now. What are you waiting for if you haven't bought the book? October 7 is the deadline. 100% of the profits are going to the Children's Crisis Treatment Center. I am delivering this CNN program today, getting on an airplane, going to North Carolina, and really excited about tomorrow speaking in Asheville. Big theater, 500 people, sold out, really excited about it. This is like the full-on Mingle presentation, which I first delivered in Sellersville and then have delivered to any number of private groups all across the country, and I will continue to do so. But it's nice when I can gather pure radio and television, listeners and viewers. It's a different type of a speech that if a group brings me in anywhere USA to speak at their gathering, it's sort of a modified version of the Mingle presentation that I deliver, because I have to walk into that room assuming this is a group of strangers somewhat familiar with me, but maybe not radio listeners or television viewers. When I go into the Wortham Center in Asheville tomorrow afternoon, these are hardcore radio people. They get the inside jokes. They've heard certain of the storylines from me before, and it just makes it a much more enjoyable process for me. It really does. It's a mingle. It's like a gathering of friends. So I will see some of you in Asheville tomorrow afternoon. I'm really looking forward to that. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the weekend. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please go get a copy of Smercomics at my website, which is the only place that you can get it. And one more thing, like this video if you don't mind. Like this video. Follow me on our YouTube channel. I appreciate it. I'll see you soon on television, okay?